There is a community in America that has not bought cold medicine in 300 years. They have lower rates of asthma and allergies than the general population. A 2016 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that Amish children had significantly lower rates of allergic sensitization than matched populations, and researchers attributed this partly to their traditional farming practices and proximity to natural environments. They do not visit urgent care when their children get the flu. They do not line up at pharmacies for NyQuil or Dayquil or Mucinex or Tamiflu. Instead, they walk to the edge of their property, where a dark-berried shrub grows along every fence row and field border, and they pick the clusters of tiny purple-black fruit the same way their grandmothers did, and their grandmothers' grandmothers did before them. They bring the berries inside, they simmer them with honey and spices, and they give the syrup to their families at the first sign of a sniffle. The community is the Amish. The berry is something you have probably walked past 1,000 times without knowing what it was. In a randomised, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, this berry reduced flu symptoms on average 4 days earlier than the placebo group. Not 1 day, not 2, 4. The standard pharmaceutical treatment for influenza, Tamiflu, shortens the flu by 1 day and costs $60 to $150 per course. This berry costs $3 a bag dried and grows wild on every fence row in the eastern United States. I'm going to tell you which berry, why it works, and the exact recipe the Amish use to make it. But first you need to understand how much money is at stake, because the moment you understand the economics, you will understand why your doctor has never mentioned this. Americans spend $12.35 billion a year on over-the-counter cold and cough remedies. NyQuil, Dayquil, Robitussin, Mucinex, Sudafed, Theraflu. These products do not cure anything. They suppress symptoms. They mask fever, dry up mucus, dull coughs. The virus runs its course regardless. On the prescription side, Tamiflu is the only widely prescribed antiviral for influenza. Over 70 governments have stockpiled it. More than 220 million treatment courses were purchased at a cost of $6.9 billion. For all that money, a meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that Tamiflu shortens influenza symptoms by approximately 1 day. For a drug that costs between $60 and $150 per course, it can cause nausea, vomiting, headaches, and in rare cases, neuropsychiatric events including hallucinations and self-harm in adolescents. That is the standard of care. A single day of relief for $150 and a list of side effects. Now, let me tell you about the berry. The berry is elderberry, Sambucus nigra, black elderberry. It grows as a shrub or small tree across North America, Europe, and Western Asia. It produces flat clusters of tiny white flowers in spring that develop into drooping bunches of small, dark purple-black berries by late summer. It grows in hedgerows, along fence lines, at the edge of fields and ditches, on roadsides, and in every neglected corner of every rural property in the eastern half of the United States. Hippocrates called the elder tree his medicine chest in 400 BC. European folk medicine has used elderberry for respiratory illness for over 1,000 years. The Amish adopted it as a cornerstone of their home pharmacy when they arrived in Pennsylvania in the 1700s, and they have never stopped using it. Amish households keep elderberry syrup in their kitchens the way most American households keep Tylenol in their medicine cabinets. When an Amish child gets a fever, the first response is not a trip to the doctor. It is a spoonful of dark purple syrup from a jar that was made in that kitchen from berries that grew on that property. The recipe is passed between households the same way it has been for centuries, hand to hand, mother to daughter, neighbour to neighbour. No brand, no label, no expiration date stamped by a corporation, just a jar of something that works. The difference is the elderberry actually does something to the virus, not just the symptoms. Here is what the science says. Elderberry contains a protein called hemagglutinin that blocks a virus's ability to penetrate cell walls. If taken before infection, it can prevent the virus from entering your cells. If taken after infection, it stops the virus from spreading to new cells, which is the same mechanism Tamiflu uses, but through a different pathway. In 2004, Zakir Rones and colleagues published a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial involving 60 patients with confirmed influenza A and B. Patients received 15 milliliters of elderberry syrup 4 times daily for 5 days. Symptoms were relieved on average 4 days earlier than the placebo group. The p-value was below 0.001. Rescue medication use was significantly lower in the elderberry group. A meta-analysis of 4 randomized controlled trials involving 180 patients confirmed the finding with a large effect size of 1.717, showing elderberry substantially reduced upper respiratory symptoms across both influenza and the common cold. An earlier Israeli study found that 93% of patients taking elderberry showed significant improvement within 2 days compared to 6 days for the placebo group. Here is the honest caveat, because this is where most channels lose your trust. In 2020, a larger trial was conducted in US emergency rooms. 87 patients with confirmed influenza received either elderberry or placebo. This trial found no significant benefit. The elderberry group did not recover faster than placebo. This is real. This is published. And it directly contradicts the earlier trials. There are possible explanations. In the 2020 trial, most patients in both groups were also taking Tamiflu, which may have masked the elderberry effect. The earlier trials tested elderberry alone. When 2 antiviral interventions are given to both groups at the same time, detecting the effect of either becomes statistically difficult. But I am not going to pretend the contradiction does not exist. The earlier trials are positive and statistically significant. The later trial is not. The honest position is that the evidence is promising but not settled. Nobody with a research budget is going to resolve this, because elderberry is a wild shrub. You cannot patent a fencerow, and a resolved clinical picture would threaten a $12 billion cold medicine market and a nearly $2 billion Tamiflu market simultaneously. If you are still here and this matters to you, hit subscribe. We are doing this every week. Here is the recipe the Amish have used for generations, and it takes less than an hour. You need dried elderberries, raw honey, water, and optionally fresh ginger and cinnamon. Add 1 cup of dried elderberries to 3 cups of water in a saucepan. Add 1 tablespoon of fresh grated ginger and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Bring to a boil, then reduce to a low simmer, uncovered, for 30 to 45 minutes, until the liquid has reduced by roughly half. Remove from heat. Mash the berries with a fork to release any remaining juice. Strain through a fine mesh sieve or cheesecloth into a glass jar, pressing the solids to extract every drop. Let the liquid cool to room temperature. This is critical. Do not add honey while the liquid is hot, or you will destroy the antimicrobial and enzymatic properties of the raw honey. Once cooled, stir in 1 cup of raw honey. Pour into glass bottles and store in the refrigerator, where it will keep for 2 to 3 months. Adults take 1 tablespoon daily as a preventative during cold and flu season. If illness hits, increase to 1 tablespoon every 2 to 3 hours until symptoms clear. For children over 1 year, halve the dose. Do not give raw honey to infants under 12 months. Never eat raw elderberries. Uncooked berries contain compounds your body converts to cyanide. Cooking eliminates them completely. This is why every traditional preparation, Amish and otherwise, simmers the berries first. Your total cost for a batch is roughly $3 for the elderberries, a few dollars for honey, and pennies for the spices. That batch will last a family of 4 the entire flu season. If you want to grow your own, elderberry is one of the easiest shrubs to establish. It grows in almost any soil, tolerates partial shade, and once planted, it produces fruit within 2 to 3 years and continues for decades. A single bush can yield 12 to 15 pounds of berries per season. A $5 cutting from a nursery becomes a lifetime supply of flu medicine. A single course of Tamiflu costs $60 to $150 and shortens your flu by 1 day. A bottle of NyQuil costs $12 and treats 0 viruses. Now picture this, it is 10 years from now. There is an elderberry bush growing along your back fence that you planted from a $5 cutting. Every August you pick the berry clusters, dry what you cannot use fresh, and spend 1 afternoon simmering a season's worth of syrup that fills 8 glass bottles in the fridge. When your kid wakes up with a scratchy throat in January, you reach for the jar before you reach for anything else. Your medicine cabinet has not had a box of cold medicine in it for years. Your neighbour asks why your family seems to get through every winter without a doctor visit. You tell them about a community in Pennsylvania that has been doing this for 300 years. You tell them about a clinical trial where the berry cleared flu symptoms 4 days before the placebo group. You tell them Tamiflu costs $150 and buys you 1 day. You tell them the berry grows on every fence in America, and nobody with the $12 billion cold medicine empire has any reason to tell you about it. You tell them Hippocrates called the elder tree his medicine chest 2,400 years ago. The Amish carried that knowledge into Pennsylvania and never let it go. And the only reason you did not know is because a jar of homemade syrup does not generate shareholder value. And if you want to go deeper, head to our website where you can grab our free ebook on Lost Plant Remedies the system forgot, but the science never did. Thanks for watching. Click here to check out another video, and make sure to hit subscribe.